Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of your chamber check-ins from your only five-star accredited chamber in the state of Idaho. Today, we get to learn about an organization that is working to advance early childhood education in Idaho. And I'm so happy to help share their story with Rachel Flatchbart Sladek. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. Rachel is the development director for Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, which is Idaho AEYC. And I have three school-age children now who all went through some type of pre-K opportunity before they were in the kindergarten. And I think that has set them up for success into the future. So, Rachel, you know these chamber check-ins. They're great ways of educating our chamber members and the community on about chamber member businesses. And we feature their origin stories and their products and services. But most importantly, I love learning about the people. And so, Rachel, as the development director for Idaho AEYC, tell us a little bit about your history of work that led you into this industry.
Yeah, and that's such a great question, Paul. And I love doing these chamber check-ins. I love watching them and getting to see what other businesses are doing and other nonprofit organizations. And, for me, how I really got started in this line of work is I was lucky enough to grow up in Boise. And I was really raised with that Boise kind, as we are so lucky to have here in Boise, and that makes Boise so unique. And so I was raised by an educator and somebody working in health insurance. And that really showed me the importance of education from a young age. And, when I went to the College of Idaho out in Caldwell, so go Yotes, love them. I really learned a lot about that, kind of that giving back piece. And that's really what I wanted to do. Is I always wanted to be in a career that really gave back to the community that ultimately shaped me. And that's really how I ended up at Idaho AUIC, was the fact that I did my minor in education. It's always been a passion of mine. And it's always been a passion to make sure that kids have equal access, and that especially at Idaho EYC, that we make sure that families have access to quality early learning at an affordable rate, because that's a really huge issue as well.
Absolutely. I had no idea that you were raised in an educator's family.
Yes.
I learn something new every day, Rachel. Cool.
Yes, and I give her all the credit. She was an incredible mother and educator. She's just wonderful.
That's awesome. Hey, Rachel, for those that don't know what IAEYC is, why don't you give us a little bit of the origin story of the organization, when it started, and if you can, a little bit about the why.
Yeah. So Idaho EYC has been around for almost 25 years. So we've been around in a long time. We actually started off as kind of a different kind of nonprofit, and now we have our own 501c3, and I believe we've been around since it's been quite a long time. I know that I was looking up recently that we've been a chamber member, I believe, since early 2000. So we've been around as an organization since around that time. And for us, really, our whole role in the state is to advance early childhood education, as you talked about. We do that through our early learning programs and resources. We do that by supporting early care and education professionals, because we know that early childhood professionals in the state of Idaho, they make on average about $10 an hour. And that's why we really think it's important to talk about advancing and helping those and providing professional development. And lastly, we really advocate for Idaho children and families. That's really what that why is making sure that every family has access to that quality early learning that they need, and also to helping provide in the rural child, in Idaho, we have a lot of rural areas. So one of the things we do a lot too is also by making sure that every community has quality early learning that people can send their children to.
Wow. So what I just heard you say is that the Idaho AEYC is helping the early learning centers, and by providing resources and educational materials, as well as coaching those that are employed by those early learning centers, correct?
Correct. So one of our programs is actually a collaboration with U of I called the Idaho STARS program. And their whole role is to provide professional development to early childhood professionals. And even something that Idaho EYC does is we actually have an annual event that's called a Professional Development Institute. Comes up in June. We have it at the Boise Center, and that's actually an opportunity for early childhood educators from around the state to come to Boise and actually be able to further their skills and their knowledge and then take that back to their communities. So really we provide that. We're always advocating. We have a program called Ready Idaho Coalition. And that really, that last piece is providing resources to families. So one of our programs is called Ready for Kindergarten, and that's really a great way that we do that.
You may not know this, Rachel, and I don't know this, but I want to ask. Of the workforce population that have kids, do you think there are enough early learning centers to provide for those pre-K kids with parents that are, maybe working, both parents are working, or a single parent that are working? Tell me what our shortfall is on those early learning centers.
For sure. And when, we talk about programming in our programs, so we talk about that from 0 to 8. And so that means, people that are, have very young children. One of our whole programs is called Early Learning Collaboratives. And that's really their role, is to actually help kind of build in those, what we call childcare deserts. And that's a really important part. So one of the things they did recently is working with, actually out in the city of Driggs, is actually helping to build a child care center provider out there, because there was not one recently. So they're working with a lot of different organizations to be able to do that. And what the Early Learning Collaboratives is it is essentially a program that says, rather than starting at the top up and telling communities how they need to do this and providing early childhood, it's actually getting multiple different stakeholders in these different communities across the state and telling us, how can we support you? So we have about 25 of those right now across the state of Idaho that actually are early learning collaboratives. And that's our role, is convening as communities, talking about how can they provide resources, and also making sure that, what can we do on our end to help them in those communities.
I love it. That's the most important population, is that next generation. And
it is.
If we can plant the trees now that they can enjoy the shade in later, I think it's I think it's the good work that needs to be done. You talked a little bit about some of the programs offered, and you mentioned how you're affecting and educating those early learning centers. What have we missed so far? Help me share a little bit more, maybe more of a breadth of the services offered.
Yeah, so I think more of the breadth of services is also talking about that Ready for Kindergarten project that I talked about. That's one of our programs at Idaho EYC. This one to me is one that's really near and dear to my heart. I think that one thing I did not know till I started in my role was that 58% of kids in Idaho do not enter kindergarten ready to learn. And what that means is that they're already behind. And what we know as one of the social determinants of health is that if you enter kindergarten and you're on grade level, it already sets you up, as you talked about, for success in your life. And we know that that helps with health outcomes, with success, with furthering your education in your lifetime. And so that Ready for Kindergarten is a free program for families. So we do it across the state. I believe we've done about 77 workshops since last September in about 50 different communities across the state. Wow. So we talk about that. If you want it, we will bring it to you. We even had rural communities that said, we really want this, and parents called their school districts. So Ready for Kindergarten essentially is teaching parents how to play with purpose. So they're usually a set of 3 workshops for families 0 to 5. And it's a really great opportunity. We provide childcare, meals for the night. All you have to do is show up and really get to learn, and also really get to play with purpose. So one of the ones I saw was for, I believe it was the grades ages 2 to 3. And it actually was really cool because the facilitator was teaching parents using these dice and these little colored bears how to make patterns, how to talk about how to get kids. So it's about teaching moments throughout the day. So if you're at the grocery store, it's saying, okay, rather than just picking up everything, taking a minute to say, what color is this banana? Can you help me pick out how many bananas I have? And teaching them those age appropriate kind of learning development skills. But Ready for Kindergarten is research founded, and I think all the materials we give out is incredible to families. And that's really a really neat program that we do.
I love it. You mentioned some of the family resources. What kind of trainings are you offering those early childhood educators. Tell me a little bit, maybe the top 3 things that you're coaching.
Yeah, so I know that, through the Idaho Stars project, I mean, last year we know that they provided, I believe it was over 12,000 coaching assistant hours throughout the state.
Wow.
Over 50,000 training hours, so different early childhood professionals. And really, for instance, like for our professional development, I think Institute, what's neat too is that we provide programs to help professional development, not just in English, but in Spanish as well. So at our conference, we'll actually have bilingual sessions. So a lot of times we do a lot of work around, that playing with purpose, social, emotional, and really also talking about with educators, giving them a chance to tell us, what do you want and how can we help provide that? So for instance, at PDI, we're going to have, his name's Patrick Mitchell, is going to be our keynote speaker, and he's the down-to-earth dad. And so he's done a lot of work around storytelling and helping connect families to resources.
Okay. I would imagine also early learning centers want some type of accreditation so
Yes.
that when parents are looking at where to send their kids for pre-K learning centers, that it's probably, a breath of fresh air if that outfit's accredited.
Yes. And that's really where, so part of Idaho Stars, we have the Steps to Quality program. And so that's actually what early child care centers, they can go through this program. It's a very prestigious program. And being able to then show to families, like, we did these extra steps to show that we are a very good quality early childhood center. And it's one that takes a long time because you have to do a lot of work to get towards that.
Oh, I can imagine. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do is to gain the trust of those parents when you're educating and watching those young ones
Right.
throughout the day. I'm so glad that there's an organization that's doing that. And if there's other learning centers that are watching and are interested in getting connected to the Idaho AEYC, easy for me to say, I'm going to put your website on the screen. And so there's a lot of information in idahoaeyc.org, the About Us, all the different family resources. There's a job board as well. I would imagine some of the early learning centers are posting some of their available positions through your site.
Yeah, and that's one thing we didn't even talk about. That is one thing that we also offer is membership. So that's one of the things with membership is then you get to post on our job board. And the membership is really neat for early childhood professionals because it comes with online professional development. You get a special access rate to our PDI. And it's a really great way for people to further their profession is by having a membership. So as an early childhood professional, it's a really great way to be able to further your own education on your own time.
I love it. Okay. How do families and businesses get involved and help support the association?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I think if you go to our website, we have a lot of different events coming up that we would love for you to be a part of. For businesses, we have different sponsorship and financial donation opportunities through our upcoming events. For anybody, Idaho Gives is May 1 through 4th. We are doing that as an organization and working the Idaho Nonprofit Center, if you don't know, puts it on every year. So Idaho Gives, we hope you join us for that and being able to continue to kind of, because at Idaho AEYC, we always say that we imagine an Idaho where every child thrives. So we hope you join us in making that vision a reality during Idaho Gives, by a donation, following us on social media. That's such a simple way to support us. And also just coming to our events. So I was telling Paul earlier, we have a really fun event coming up in August called the Celebration of the Young Child. And it's a free event for families from 11 to 3. We provide live entertainment. We have over 50 vendors participating. And we even give out fun free resources to families, which is really fun. So we'll give out these backpacks to every person that comes. And we actually have a book in here that's age appropriate called Everywhere Wonder. And then what's even fun for this is one of our favorite things that we've done this year. So this is new for us is actually doing aprons to give out to kids. So it has ready for kindergarten. So kids can cook, play.
That's awesome.
Garden in this. So those are a couple ways for people to get involved, and also just subscribing to our newsletters. That's a really easy way as well to support us.
Rachel, I love what you said about playing with a purpose. I think those times are lost in our adulthood, but our kids are learning every single day when they're playing, and if we can have the right tools that help engage their minds in a play that with a purpose, and what I'm learning today is that Idaho AEYC provides those tools and those coaching opportunities for those learning centers and educating the employees of those learning centers. I think it's so great that you're involved. While I have you, Rachel, in our last few minutes here, is there anything else that you'd like to educate the public on?
I just want to take a second and say we are so grateful to all of our supporters. We are based in the Treasure Valley, but we're a statewide nonprofit. And so we're just grateful to also the business community that has really supported us. We have great sponsorships with great, connections, as well as one of my favorite things to do, and I want to say this as a thank you, is last weekend, I was tabling at Columbia Sportswear for Week of the Young Child, which is an event we just did. And I love being able to give out these resources to families and seeing the eyes light up and seeing them get involved. So I just say thank you to every person who's engaged and also want to continue their engagement with Idaho AEYC.
Awesome. Rachel, we're so glad that you are a part of this organization. I know Beth and her team are just stoked to have you part of the Idaho AEYC. You're such a great community leader and a peer leader. Thank you for being involved with the chamber. And as the president of the Boise Young Professionals Organization, we also say thank you.
No, thank you for that. And that's one thing, like I said, I've been so grateful that I started with this organization and finding out just how long we've been a chamber member, because that's really important to me, but as well as the fact that I did not realize how much Idaho AEYC does until actually learning more. And so there's so many different arms of our organization. So we always say that we're helping the whole ecosystem of early learning childhood. And that's what I'll say is I'm just lucky to work with great colleagues who do this programming, and I'm just grateful to be able to help get the word out. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Enjoy your weekend, Rachel. Thanks again. I can't wait till we see each other and look forward to our next conversation.
Sounds great. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Paul.